I know that the title of this video says that I'm going to rank every single metro station, but that's kind of a lie, because I'm not going to be ranking every single metro station. I'm going to be ranking every single metro station and every South Shoreline station. Metra, for the unenlightened, is Chicago's commuter rail or regional rail system. With 487.5 miles of track, 11 lines, and 244 stations, this video took so much more work than the CTA one. Now, I'm going to spend a lot more time here talking about the preliminary stuff, like factors that I'm ranking stations by, because admittedly I could have done a better job of that in my previous video, and I think there's a lot more to unpack here as well. First up is ridership, or how many people use the station on average every day. Metra unfortunately hasn't posted data on this in quite a long time, the last time being in 2018, which is a bit outdated, but it's the best we got, so we're going to have to roll with it. I've managed to find other estimates for more recently constructed stations like Peterson Ridge, so we're all playing by the same rules here. Now, the way I measured ridership is a little bit more intricate. First, I took the raw number, how many people on average board or disembark per weekday, and I calculated that number as a percentage of 2,000, because the vast majority of metro stations do not see over 2,000 daily riders, so it seemed like a good baseline. For the few stations that are above 2,000 daily riders, I had to cap their score at 100 because there is an insane discrepancy in ridership once you get to the top 3 most used stations outside of downtown. Basically, this is my equivalent of taxing the rich, but for metro stations. Second is walk score, which is pretty straightforward. I input the address for each station into the walk score site, got its score, and I input it as is. For anyone who doesn't know, the walk score site is an online tool that helps you gauge how walkable an area is. The data they use isn't 100% perfect, but it is a useful tool. And yes, this means that stations that are surrounded by huge parking lots are going to have points nipped. If a station is convenient to use by car, that's great, but it's not really how we should be incentivizing our stations to be built. And yes, some stations in more rural areas, it is more necessary to have bigger parking lots, especially at terminal stations, but again, I'm having all stations play by the same rules here. Third is level of service, or basically how many trains per weekday does the station get. And if that sounds like an absolutely appalling, mind-numbing, and horrible thing to try and gather data for over 250 stations split across 11 regional rail and 1 interurban line, yeah, it sucked. I put the number of trains a day the station gets in as its raw number, and for the very, very few stations to have over 100 trains a day, similar to ridership, I just capped their score at 100. Fourth is transit connections. Basically, does your station have transfers available to CTA, PACE, another Metroline, or another city's bus transit, even Amtrak at times? If a station just has one bus route serving it, it got 50 points. If it has multiple, it gets 75. If it has a CTA rail connection, it gets 100. And most other things put it somewhere in between all of that. Obviously, if the station does not have any transit connections, it got no points here. Fifth is accessibility. Now, the vast majority of metro stations are ADA accessible, so if the station is accessible, it gets 100 points, and if not, it gets 0. Sixth is amenities/vibes. This is the one that could be the most subjective, as there's no concrete data on stuff like this. Pretty much scored out of 100 generally on stuff like, is there a proper station building, is it especially nice, are there ticket machines at the station, and does the station feel like it's about to crumble into a million pieces every time a train rolls in. And seventh, we have weekend service. Obviously, there are a couple metro lines that don't operate at all on weekends, so no stations on those lines will get the points, and on other lines, there are certain stations that get skipped on weekends. For the very few stations that are serviced on Saturday but not Sunday, they got 50 points, but otherwise it's all or nothing, 100 or 0. As a side note, the downtown terminal stations are going to be omitted from this list since they're kind of a beast of their own, but I still collected the data on them, so I'll bring them up when it's their time. And for the top 10 stations on the list, I actually personally went to all of them so I could give them a more comprehensive review, so make sure to stay to the end for that. And just to make sure that this is clear, this video is intended as a fun passion project. It's not an objective list, so I don't want anyone to take things personally when their favorite station gets ranked low on the list. And final thing, I did launch a Patreon page, so if this is the kind of content you're interested in, feel free to check it out. I'm going to be posting a bunch of behind the scenes content and extra videos and early access to videos on there, as well as name at the end card of videos. But I think that should be everything, so now the absolute worst station on all of Metra is...
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Galewood, Montclair, Elmwood Park. Next Stop here. Mainline train number 2236 to Chicago Union Station is arriving in approximately 9 minutes.
It's way stormy.
This isn't Mannheim.
This isn't Mannheim. Stormy, why are we at Franklin Park?
Because like 4 trains a day make flag stops at Mannheim. There is no way we can fit it in with our schedule.
So we have to walk all the way from Franklin Park to Mannheim. Still there? Here in beautiful Franklin Park, Illinois, on our way to the worst Metra station. Green infrastructure project. Native plants, small scale bioretention areas that promote infiltration of storm water and provide localized detention. I wouldn't say that this is looking very green or retained.
To be fair, it is February.
Okay, well, all right. There she is. All right, so land use, you got the tiniest bit of residential on that corner, and right, not a single car parked at the station, and it's midday during the week right now. Yep.
It does have a facility.
It does have a facility. This is the entire station. It has the up-to-date zoning map though. And it also has Peterson Ridge, so the map isn't horribly out of date. But man,
Let's go to track 2.
going on a track 2.
No tactile strips on this one.
Nope. And this is the inbound platform, so this is like, this would be the main platform you'd be waiting at if you're going to Chicago. Beautiful Mannheim. So now that I'm here in person, it's really easy to see why this station got dead last by a lot. You know, ridership incredibly low. Level of service obviously kind of hand in hand with that. This train gets skipped, or the station gets skipped by like the vast majority of trains on the line. You only have like 4 outbounds and a little bit more inbounds. Walk score, it's not like the worst on the entire system, but it's not very good either. Transit connections, I did not give it the points. You can technically walk to the 330, but it's like a 10-minute walk away, and not a very pleasant one at that, so I did not give it the points. I don't even think that it would have been bumped up to second worst if I did give it the 50 points. And obviously amenities or vibes. You've seen the station. You did not get well on that either. So I know I said I'm going to be visiting all of the 10 best stations in person, which I am still doing, but I also thought it necessary to come to the worst station, especially considering the scale at which it was last by. So with the worst station out of the way, let's go on to the second worst. $250 is Racine on the Metra Electric Blue Island branch. This station, like a lot of the Metra Electric Blue Island branch stations, is kind of just like a single wooden platform suspended on the side of the road for trains to stop. A very low ridership station with half of the area around it taken up by a solar power plant. 249 is Stewart Ridge, another station on Metra Electric's Blue Island branch. All things considered, the station is pretty quaint, but really does not have much going for it at all, being in a similar state of repair to Racine, but at least without the giant solar power plant. Staying on the Metra Electric Blue Island branch at 248 is Ashland. Similar to the others so far, pretty uneventful. Our first station on the South Shoreline, Hudson Lake, is 247. If you thought our previous 3 stations didn't have much to speak of in terms of the station itself, then oh boy, take a look at Hudson Lake. It is really sad that this station had to get put so low because despite it being kind of nothing, it is really cute and in a charming town. But when your average daily ridership is 1, yes, 1 person a day, there's not much you can do to escape the bottom 10. 246 is Congress Park on BNSF. This station is on a really high ridership line, but gets skipped by the majority of trains that pass through, and it has no weekend service, and just has a lot of industrial land use nearby. 245 is Laraway Road on the Southwest service. Being located within farmland with a big parking lot on a line that gets subpar service and isn't served at all on weekends, honestly, what else is there to say? 244 is Manhattan, the terminus of the Southwest service. Similar to Laraway Road, but is a little bit closer to residential development. Still though, I think the station would be a lot better had it been placed right in downtown instead of just to the south of it. 243 is Burr Oak on Metro Electric's Blue Island branch once again. I'm starting to think that the MED Blue Island branch is just the Blue Line's Forest Park branch of this video, getting a bunch of the bottom rankings. It's another quiet station on the line and it scores decently on WalkScore. 232 is Washington Street Grays Lake on the North Central service. This station is begging for some transit-oriented development with lots of empty land nearby. Not really much to walk to, but otherwise a standard North Central service station. 241 is O'Hare Transfer on the North Central service. The station is located near the car rental facility near O'Hare Airport, and does offer a decent transfer to the airport's transit system to take you into the terminals, but when the Blue Line exists and you only get like 9 trains a day total, it's not a very practical way to catch a flight. 240 is State Street, once again on the Blue Island branch of Metro Electric. This is a good opportunity to say that a lot of these really low ranking stations aren't like actively horrible, but a lot of them are just really uneventful and don't have much going on to bring them up any higher. 239 is 95th Street Chicago State University on the Metro Electric main line. The station is actually closed for renovation currently, but it's very likely that once construction finishes and the station reopens, it could rank quite a bit higher. 238 is Romeoville on the Heritage Corridor. The station serves as a park and ride, but really does not have anything at all going on nearby, and only gets 3 trains per day in each direction. 237 is Prairie Crossing on the North Central service, not to be confused with the nearby Prairie Crossing on Milwaukee District North. Nipped by incredibly low ridership and poor land use, but seriously, I'm not sure why anyone would choose to use this station most of the time when the much more frequent line is directly adjacent to it. 236 is West Pullman, once again on the Blue Island branch of Metro Electric. Similar to the other stations on the branch, but reaps some benefits of being next to a major road with bus service. 235 is Gladstone Park on Union Pacific Northwest. A station with not many amenities at all to speak of, and honestly its coolest feature is its bridge that it has over the Kennedy Expressway, giving great views. 234 is Highlands on BNSF. Another station on the line similar to Congress Park, which is skipped by many of the trains passing by. It has a lot of small parks nearby, which is nice though. 233 is Rosemont on the North Central service. This station is very, very seldom used, and it's not hard to see why. Horrible land use, and there are virtually no homes at all, with their closest metro station being Rosemont. Kind of crazy that the station still exists. 232 is Palos Park on the Southwest service. Lack of any transit connections and having no weekend service on the line bring it down quite a bit, but it is still a very pretty station with lots of greenery nearby. 231 is Olympia Fields on the Electric. This station has a lot of its adjacent land use taken up by a country club, which is interesting, and I'm a big fan of the transit-accessible post office nearby. Back on the Heritage Corridor at 230 is Summit, the first station on the line outside of Union Station. Like other stations on the line, it is very, very seldom served, and you know your commuter rail schedule is horrible when this station is more frequently serviced by Amtrak than it is Metra. Yikes. 229 is Gary Chicago Airport Clark Road on the South Shore Line. Now you would be forgiven for thinking this station is actually located at its namesake airport, but instead it's just sort of close to it. It's impossible to access the airport on foot at all unless you want to walk over a mile on the shoulder of a road with no sidewalk. 228 is Round Lake Beach on the North Central service. A quite quiet station on the North Central service with a nice lake and trails on one side and Home Depot with a huge parking lot on the other side. 227 is Ravinia Park on Union Pacific North. Now this one was tricky to rank since the station is only serviced seasonally during the summer, being located basically within the Ravinia Fairgrounds. The station is quite nice though. 226 is Lake Villa on the North Central service. The station has a lot of nice recreation around it, as well as some homes and businesses, but is really nipped by its lack of service being on the North Central service. 225 is Orland Park 179th Street on the Southwest Service. A pretty bog standard park and ride station with not too much going on nearby. 224 is Grand and Cicero on Milwaukee District West. Still being within Chicago city limits, the station has some decent density nearby, although not perfect. The station is, however, skipped on weekends, inaccessible, and while not as bad as some of the other inner-city Metra stations, it's not necessarily pretty either. Once again, on the North Central service at 223 is Schiller Park. The station is directly before Rosemont on the line and is a much more practical station to use since it actually has homes nearby. Crazy concept. 222 is Big Timber Road, the terminal station on Milwaukee District West. Unlike its counterpart in downtown Elgin, the station really kind of drops you off in the middle of nowhere, and I find it strange that the station isn't served at all on weekends. 221 is 27th Street on Metra Electric. I'm honestly shocked the station didn't score lower than it did, some of the absolute lowest ridership on the whole system. The station isn't just poorly placed, it's near impossible to get there even if you wanted to. I'm sure once the surrounding area is a bit more developed it could be better, but as of now the station really barely serves anything at all. 220 is Prairie View on the North Central service. The station itself is quite pretty, but low ridership and low service bring it down quite a lot. 219 is West Hinsdale on BNSF. Another station on BNSF which sees much less service than other stations on the line. The station sees alright ridership though. 218 is Vernon Hills on the North Central service. Few trains, has a lot of its land use being a golf course, and no transit connections. 217 is Prairie Street on the Rock Island's Beverly branch. A very low ridership station located adjacent to a rail yard and can be quite difficult to find. It's mostly serviced as a flag stop and it's not hard to see why. 216 is Antioch, the terminal of the North Central service. Antioch is actually a perfectly tolerable station being located close to downtown Antioch, but same old story for the North Central service. 215 is Orland Park 153rd Street on the Southwest service. Another quite uneventful park and ride on the line, but it does have quite good ridership for the line. 214 is Willow Springs on the Heritage Corridor, a station that would be amazing for accessing much of the nature preserves located directly to its south if it wasn't for the fact that it gets 3 trains a day in each direction. 213 is Palos Heights on the Southwest service, a quite nice station on the line, although a bit detached from its surrounding neighborhoods. 212 is Wheeling on the North Central service. Another quite well-used station on the line, and I'm a big fan of the design of the station house. 211 is Ashburn on the Southwest service. This station is very close by to its adjacent stop Wrightwood, but it sees decent ridership, is pretty clean, and in a dense area. 210 is Franklin Park, Belmont Avenue on the North Central service. I know we've been bouncing around the same couple of lines here for a bit now, but I promise it's going to get more interesting soon. Similar to Prairie Crossing, the station on the line is located really close to another much more frequent Metro station on Milwaukee West, which surely eats into ridership quite a bit. Still a very nice and modern station though. 209 is 123rd Street on the Rock Island's Beverly branch. Another typical station on the branch, but half of the walkshed of the station is a Metra facility, making it harder to access than other adjacent stops. 208 is Matson on the Metro Electric main line. Poor walk score and inaccessible, but being by the old Plank Road trail is nice. 207 is 18th on Metro Electric. Another station close into downtown, but can be a little confusing to navigate at times. The station is quite low ridership, but gets a boost of riders on Bears game days, being pretty close to Soldier Field. Back in Indiana at 206 is Beverly Shores on the South Shoreline. A very low ridership station, well, not as low as Hudson Lake, but the station has a beautiful station house with a nice neon sign, and is one of the stations that is great to access the Indiana Dunes National Park. 205 is 137th Street Riverdale on Metra Electric. Another lower ridership, inaccessible station on the line. The station is very well serviced, however. 204 is Lamont on the Heritage Corridor. Honestly, if this station weren't stuck on this line, it would surely be much higher on the list. Downtown Lamont is quite walkable. The station already sees some of the highest ridership on the line, so please Heritage Corridor, give us a normal schedule. Well, our final station on the Heritage Corridor, and we're not even in the top 200. Lockport is at 203. While not as high ridership as Lamont, the station scores better on walk score and benefits from having service from the Pace 834 bus. 202 is Mars on Milwaukee District West. The station is named after the adjacent Mars Incorporated candy facility, which I always thought was fun, but unfortunately having a candy facility nearby isn't enough to bring it up any higher. Just missing the top 200 stations is 91st Street Chesterfield on Metra Electric. While a bit dated and a bit dirty, the station has good vibes, but it is very low ridership and inaccessible. Starting the top 200 is Prospect Heights on the North Central service. Definitely one of the better stations on the line with bus service and lots of residential development nearby. but I think the station could use some good old-fashioned transit-oriented development. 199 is 107th Street on Metra Electric. Almost identical to 91st Street in terms of statistics, but scores ever so slightly higher on walk score and level of service. 198 is Hanson Park on Milwaukee West, an honestly quite uneventful station with a lot of industrial development nearby. 137 is 103rd Street Washington Heights on the Rock Island. This is one of the stations that service on the Rock Island main line in between Blue Island and where the Beverly branch splits off, and it is quite low ridership. 196 is Long Lake on Milwaukee North. Located towards the end of the line, there's a lot of very low density development nearby. Very low ridership, but the area it's in is very beautiful. 195 is River Forest on Union Pacific West. The station got brought down a bit by being pretty low on walk score and having some woods nearby, and in terms of the station itself, there's not too much to speak of. Trust me, I'm just as surprised as a lot of you are to see the station ranked so high on the list, but 194 is Kedzie on Union Pacific West. Kedzie got the lowest score on the entire list in the amenities or cleanliness department. The station is in an absolute need of renovation and is quite literally falling apart. Despite this and being low ridership, the station got brought up a bit by having decent walk score, quite a lot of train service, and good transit connections to the CTA 52 bus. 193 is Zion on Union Pacific North. There really isn't much going on nearby this station, and it's located north of Waukegan where many UPN trains terminate, so it isn't as well serviced as other stations in the line, but it is still quite nice. 192 is Buffalo Grove on the North Central service. Buffalo Grove is the highest ridership station on the North Central service. The station itself is pretty nice, but could use some better land use nearby. 191 is Forest Glen on Milwaukee North. Quite solid on walk score and ridership, but it is inaccessible. 190 is Laverne on BNSF. Being one of the least used stations on the line, and it's not too hard to see why. The station is also skipped on weekends. 189 is Robbins on the Rock Island. The station is not very well used and scores quite poorly on walk score. 188 is Blue Island on Metra Electric. I am splitting Blue Island into two separate stations because that's how Metra counts ridership. Being the terminal of the branch, it sees alright ridership, and it scores okay on walk score. 187 is Gresham on the Rock Island. This is the last station before the Rock Island splits into its two branches to the south. It is quite well used, but has some points nipped for being inaccessible. 186 is Berkeley on Union Pacific West. Low ridership, and with not great land use, it's not hard to see why. 185 is 83rd Street Avalon Park on Metra Electric. Another low ridership, inaccessible station on the Metra Electric main line. 184 is McHenry, one of the two terminal stations for Union Pacific Northwest. The station is not very well served, only getting 3 trains per day in each direction during the week, and no service on weekends. Kind of incredible that there's still regular Pace Bus service all the way out here though. 183 is Winthrop Harbor on Union Pacific North. Very similar to Zion being located north of Waukegan, so it gets less service. Low ridership, but the vibes here are peak. 182 is 111th Street Pullman on Metra Electric. Cool that this station is right next to the Pullman National Historical Park, but the station is not very well used and is inaccessible. 181 is Wrightwood on the Southwest service, the first station on the line after leaving Union Station. Not the cleanest station, but it gets the job done. 180 is 75th Street Grand Crossing on Metra Electric. Unfortunately, a similar story to many of the other MED mainline stations on the south side of Chicago. Low ridership, inaccessible, and not in a great state of repair. 179 is La Fox on Union Pacific West. There are a few stations that are more in the literal middle of nowhere than La Fox. For the few people who do use it, it's a quite solid park and ride, but man, there is really nothing going on nearby. It is cool though to board a Metra train in such a rural environment. 178 is Mayfair on Milwaukee North. The station itself is quite bare bones, but offers connections to both CTA buses and the Blue Line at Montrose. 177 is Dune Park on the South Shoreline. Similar to Beverly Shores, which we talked about earlier, but is in a more convenient location, both because it has more people living nearby and it is closer to the main part of the Dunes Beach for recreational users. 176 is 47th Street Kenwood on Metra Electric. Very nice having a lot of recreation nearby and is in a quite walkable area. While not among the bottom of ridership, it is still quite low and inaccessible. 175 is Morgan Park, 115th Street on the Rock Island Beverly branch. Not much to say, another standard Beverly branch station, but has better land use than the others we've seen so far. 174 is the other Prairie Crossing, this time on Milwaukee North. Basically everything I said about Prairie Crossing on the North Central service still applies here, but with higher ridership and getting more trains at the station. 173 is Portage Ogden Dunes on the South Shoreline. Like other stations along the Dunes Park area, the station itself is located quite far from proper residential development, but nonetheless the station is quite a popular park and ride. 172 is Indian Hill on Union Pacific North. A quite bare-bones station relative to other Union Pacific North stations. It is very well integrated into its neighborhood though. 171 is Medina on Milwaukee West. A quite high ridership park and ride station, but as such it suffers a lot on walk score and lacks any transit connections. 170 is Ingleside on Milwaukee North, the second to last station on the line, and is a single platform low ridership station. We're now solidly in the part of the list where these stations aren't necessarily bad, but may also not have a lot going for them either. 169 is Western on BNSF. Okay, so you could maybe consider the station to be bad, but it depends on how you look at it. Very low ridership, dirty and inaccessible, but it at least gets a lot of trains, good CTA connections, and it has a decent walk score. 168 is 63rd Street on Metra Electric. Another lower ridership station, but not as low as others nearby. The station could really benefit from a makeover, as like other MED stations, it is very bare bones. 167 is Mundelein on the North Central Service, officially being our best station on the line. The station has the best walk score on the line, being located close to downtown Mundelein, and the city has actually been building a lot of TOD near the station. The city of Mundelein is also actively fighting for more trains on the line, which is really great to see. 166 is 95th Street Longwood on the Rock Island. Another very, very low ridership station on the line, and is quite bare bones, but has great density and transit connections nearby. 165 is Hubbard Woods on Union Pacific North. Solid ridership, great walk score, but lacks any transit connections and is inaccessible. Also, a fun fact about this station is that it is the Metra station featured in the movie Home Alone. Staying on Union Pacific North at 164 is Brayside. Similar to Hubbard Woods, it has a bit lower ridership and walk score, but it is accessible. 163 is Worth on the Southwest Service. Higher walk score than a lot of other stations on the line, and has good transit connections. 162 is Chicago Ridge on the Southwest Service. Basically identical stats to Worth, but with the station itself being a bit prettier in my opinion. 161 is Halstead on BNSF. The station is really well located for the University of Illinois at Chicago, and has some dense housing south of the station. But similar to some other inner city metro stations, it desperately needs a renovation. 160 is Beverly Hills 107th Street on the Rock Island Beverly branch. One of the most used stations on the branch, with some good density nearby. 159 is Orland Park 143rd Street on the Southwest Service. Good ridership for the line, being located to what one, I guess, could call downtown Orland Park, if you can call the Death's Road, that is LaGrange Road through Orland Park, a downtown. Speaking of LaGrange, 158 is LaGrange Stone Avenue on BNSF. The station is located extremely close to the main LaGrange Road station, being less than 2,000 feet away, and the station gets skipped by way more trains and is lower ridership. 157 is Bellwood on Union Pacific West. A lower ridership station on the line, but if you ignore the giant rail yard to the north, land use to the south isn't too bad. 156 is Ivanhoe on Metra Electric. A quite clean station on the line with good ridership and alright land use. 155 is Mokina on the Rock Island. Has an alright walk score, being right in downtown Mokina, but is otherwise a quite bog standard station. 154 is Hickory Creek, also on the Rock Island. About half the walk score is Mokina with way worse land use, but has twice the ridership. American passenger rail in a nutshell. 153 is Winfield on Union Pacific West. The station has a cute little commercial strip around it, which is nice to see, and is also located quite close to the DuPage County Courthouse and Fairgrounds. 152 is Museum Campus 11th Street on Metra Electric. Again, while I am omitting the downtown terminal stations, I will be including any intermediate stops. So while this station is classified as Zone 1 or downtown, I'm still keeping it in the list. While a bit worse for wear, the station has good vibes. 151 is Cumberland on Union Pacific Northwest. The station is notable for being called Cumberland, but is located almost 4 miles away from Cumberland Avenue. All jokes aside though, the station is perfectly fine. 150 is Elburn, the western terminal of Union Pacific West. The station itself doesn't have much going on nearby, but is still decent on ridership. The station has a bus connection to DeKalb and by proxy Northern Illinois University. I know the logistics of this would be tough, but if we can get a Metro extension to Rockford, we should be able to extend UPW to DeKalb. Come on, Pritzker. Make it happen. 149 is Hollywood on BNSF. Another lower ridership station on the line, but the station gets bonus points for being decorated in a bunch of zoo memorabilia, as the station is close to the Brookfield Zoo. 148 is Beverly Hills 99th Street on the Rock Island's Beverly branch. Basically the same as other Beverly branch stations we've looked at again, but I really love the station house here, and it's also one of the highest ridership stations on the branch. 147 is Oak Lawn Patriot Station on the Southwest Service, officially being the SAGE certified best station on the line. It's the highest ridership stop on the line by quite a large margin, has a good walk score and good pace bus connections. 146 is University Park on Metra Electric, the southern terminal of the line. Kind of in the middle of nowhere, not really close to anything other than its namesake attraction, Governor State University. The station sees good ridership though. 145 is Villa Park on Union Pacific West. Good on ridership, but subpar on walk score and lacking any transit connections. 144 is Midlothian on the Rock Island. A solidly used station with decent transit connections, but falls off a bit in the walk score department. 143 is Lake Forest on Milwaukee North. This station is not located in downtown Lake Forest and is instead located in this little car-oriented commercial space to the west. 142 is Lake Forest on Union Pacific North. This station is located in downtown Lake Forest and is not located in this little car-oriented commercial space to the west. All things considered though, downtown Lake Forest is quite walkable until you get a little bit outside of downtown and all the roads turn into spaghetti bowls. 141 is Fairview Avenue on BNSF. This station serves as the terminal for a few runs of the line, alright on walk score here but nothing special. 140 is Round Lake on Milwaukee North. Nice that the station is located right in downtown Round Lake, however small it may be, and has a pace bus connection, but still has a lot of car-oriented development nearby, somewhat out of necessity though. 139 is Flossmoor on Metra Electric. A really nice station on the line, suffers a bit from low walk score and lack of transit connections, but not many other stations can say that they have a full-service restaurant in the station itself. 138 is Itasca on Milwaukee West. A nice and well-serviced station, but with way too much parking nearby. 137 is South Bend International Airport, the eastern terminal of the South Shore Line. Unlike Gary Chicago Airport, this station actually services the airport well, but presumably the vast majority of people coming here aren't coming to catch a flight, but are just using it to get to and from South Bend. 136 is 119th Street on the Rock Island. I'm really getting to the point with these Beverly Branch stations where I have nothing left to say. The station is fine and has alright transit connections. 135 is Cary on Union Pacific Northwest. Scoring just about average in basically every single statistic I'm using, the station can only be described as one thing, and that is painfully mid. 134 is Fox River Grove, also on Union Pacific Northwest. Scoring virtually identical to Cary, but with a slightly higher walk score. 133 is Windsor Park on Metra Electric South Chicago branch. A lot of the South Chicago branch stations are interesting because most of them are street running. The branch as a whole really needs more train service, but that's besides the point. Windsor Park is quite nice, but is one of the lowest ridership stops on the branch. 132 is National Street Elgin on Milwaukee West. A really quite pretty station located just before downtown Elgin, but is painfully annoying to access outside of a car. 131 is Grays Lake on Milwaukee North. Not much going on here other than some low-density housing, but the station is really nice. 130 is Galewood on Milwaukee West. It's okay on ridership and walk score and has good transit connections. Maybe a weird take, but I find the station quite pretty as well. 129 is Schaumburg on Milwaukee West. Located absolutely nowhere close to where people think of when they think of Schaumburg, barely being within the city limits. Absolutely huge parking lot, but the station is very, very high ridership. 128 is 87th Street South Chicago on Metra Electric. The station has a lower walk score than other stations on the line, and it's easy to see why. Also, like most of the branch, it is quite low ridership. 127 is 83rd Street South Chicago. Pretty much the same story as 87th, but with a slightly higher walk score. 126 is Ravinia on Union Pacific North. A pretty average station on the line with a nice mix of commercial and residential development nearby. 125 is Wooddale on Milwaukee West. Mainly served as a park and ride station, kind of located on this road, but Wooddale doesn't really have much of a proper downtown anyway. 124 is Beverly Hills 91st Street. Definitely one of the best stations on the Beverly branch, good density nearby and nice park space, and also a really pretty station house. 123 is Fort Sheridan on Union Pacific North. Located adjacent to the namesake Forest Preserve, which is one of my personal favorites in the Chicago area, and gotta give it a shout out for having a transit accessible gas station. 122 is Glen of North Glenview on Milwaukee North. Certainly a little bit of everything in terms of land use. Some dense homes, a nice park, and industrial area. A pretty well used and well serviced station, all things considered. 121 is 79th Street Cheltenham on Metra Electric. Back on the South Chicago branch again, so it is lower ridership, but it is located in a really dense and walkable area with good connections to transit. 120 is Brainerd on the Rock Island, the first station on the Beverly branch after it veers off the main line. The station is kind of on the median of 89th Street, which I always found interesting. 119 is Franklin Park on Milwaukee West, the station featured at the beginning of the video. This is the much better Franklin Park station out of the three, located much more close into downtown. Higher ridership and way more trains. 118 is 59th Street University of Chicago on Metra Electric. A pretty high ridership station in a very walkable area on the south side of Chicago, close by to its namesake, the University of Chicago. The station is brought down a bit by being inaccessible, however. 117 is Bartlett on Milwaukee West. Pretty well centered in its respective downtown, very nice and clean, and sees good ridership. 116 is Miller on the South Shoreline. One of the recently renovated stations as part of the South Shoreline's double track project. It's really clean and modern now and sees good ridership. 115 is Great Lakes on Union Pacific North. All around a nice station with a nice station house, and is most notable for being next to the Great Lakes Naval Station. 114 is Carroll Avenue in Michigan City on the South Shoreline. One of the highest ridership stations on the line, primarily being a park and ride. Not the greatest land use nearby, but is clearly a very important station on the South Shoreline. 113 is Harvard on Union Pacific Northwest, the other terminal station on the line. Located over 60 miles away from downtown Chicago, it's incredible that Metra even reaches out this far. And not only with Metra, but Harvard sees regular Pace bus service as well. On top of having a fairly walkable downtown, the station is really only brought down by being a bit lower ridership, which makes sense considering how small of a town Harvard is. 112 is Melrose Park on Union Pacific West, a pretty standard station on the line with a good walk score and connection to Pace. 111 is Hammond, now known as Hammond Gateway, on the South Shoreline. The station is undergoing some construction because of the Monon corridor that's opening very soon, whose stations I am very stubbornly not ranking in this video due to them not existing yet. In all seriousness, Hammond is one of the most used and most important stations on the line. 110 is Golf on Milwaukee North, which, shockingly, is close to a golf course, and is also located in the village of Golf. What else needs to be said? 109 is Richton Park on Metra Electric, a pretty nice station in the south suburbs with some TOD. Quite a bit of parking nearby, but I'll take what I can get. 108 is West Chicago on Union Pacific West. Overall, a quite standard park and ride for the line, close to downtown West Chicago and along the Illinois Prairie Path, which is always nice. 107 is Kenosha on Union Pacific North, our one and only station in Wisconsin on the entire regional rail network. The station is really nice and has some nice artwork of trains, has connections to Kenosha's city buses, coach buses, and the Kenosha streetcar. What else can you ask for? 106 is Bryn Mawr. Man, I'm not sure how a CTA station got in here, but whatever. Bryn Mawr is along the Red Line on the north side of Chicago and... what? It's not that Bryn Mawr? Oh. 106 is Bryn Mawr on Metra Electric South Chicago branch. Definitely one of the nicer stations on the branch and has higher ridership than a lot of the others. 105 is New Lenox on the Rock Island, the much better of the two New Lenox stations. Land use leaves something to be desired, but it's not that bad, all things considered. 104 is Grayland on Milwaukee North. Has some good density nearby and good CTA bus connections. 103 is River Grove on Milwaukee West and North Central service. The station is the last before the North Central service veers to the north, has good bus connections, but not the greatest on walk score. 102 is Elmwood Park on Milwaukee West. Some good density nearby again and good transit connections. Also, I'll always glaze any station that has a Culver's right next to it. 101 is 103rd Street Rosemore on Metra Electric. The station was recently renovated and is really nice to use. It does still suffer from being quite low on ridership, however. Starting the top 100 is South Shore on Metra Electric South Chicago branch. Once again a standard station for the branch but with higher ridership, in a pretty walkable area. 99 is Maywood on Union Pacific West. Another standard station for the line, gets a bonus for having two Pace routes adjacent to it. 98 is Roselle on Milwaukee West, a very high ridership park and ride station. I think it would be a bit better if it were closer into downtown Roselle on Roselle Road though. 97 is Woodstock on Union Pacific Northwest. Really great walkability from the station being right next to downtown Woodstock. 96 is Fox Lake on Milwaukee North, the terminal of the line. Lots of parking nearby, but that's typical for terminal stations. 95th is 87th Street Woodruff on Metra Electric. Another recently renovated station and is really quite nice now. Similar to 103rd, solid on walk score but low on ridership. 94 is Beverly Hills 103rd Street on the Rock Island. High ridership in a walkable area and good bus connections. 93 is Belmont. Not that Belmont, or that Belmont, or that Belmont, but this Belmont on BNSF. The station was actually renovated a while ago to remove its grade crossing and now sits above Belmont Road, which is kind of cool. 92 is Gary Metro Center on the South Shoreline. Right in downtown Gary, the station sees good ridership as well as some transfers to local bus operators. 91 is Pingree Road on Union Pacific Northwest. Another high ridership park and ride. I do have to give the station itself props for being really pretty. 90 is Harvey on Metra Electric. The station is kind of a big bus terminal, seeing connections to a ton of Pace routes around southern Cook County, and as such, the station gets really good use. The station isn't in the best state of repair at the moment, but there are active plans to renovate both the station and the bus hub. 89 is Hazel Crest on Metra Electric. Not quite as high ridership as Harvey, but the station itself is much nicer in my opinion. 88 is Montclair on Milwaukee West. Not too much to talk about again, but the station itself is quite well integrated into the surrounding area, with not too much of a parking crater. 87 is Beverly Hills 95th Street on the Rock Island's Beverly branch. For being right next to a major road with good bus connections, the station is surrounded by a lot of greenery, which is nice, so it gets the best of both worlds. 86 is Stony Island, the first station on Metro Electric's South Chicago branch coming from downtown. While lower on ridership, it is decent for the branch and has a quite high walk score. 85 is 211th Street Lincoln Highway on Metra Electric. Another mainly park and ride station, but is in an area that makes a lot more sense to have one. Still decent on walkability and transit connections. 84 is McCormick Place on Metra Electric. A really unique station for being kind of enclosed within the McCormick Place itself. Really a great station for anyone going to or from the facility, but a little more annoying to get to if you're using it to get somewhere else nearby. 83 is in North Chicago on Union Pacific North. Overall a standard UPN station, not the greatest land use, but not the worst either. 82 is 79th Street Chatham on Metra Electric. Yet another recently renovated MED station. All I said before applies here, but with better land use nearby. 81 is Waukegan on Union Pacific North. This station serves as the northern terminus for quite a lot of runs on the line that don't go all the way up to Kenosha, and being in a larger city gives it higher ridership. The station isn't super ideally located, being a little bit of a walk to the main downtown and transit center, but it gets the job done. 80 is Western Avenue on Milwaukee North, Milwaukee West, and the North Central Service, meaning one could technically consider this to be the highest ranked North Central Service station, but take of that what you will. The station being on multiple lines gets quite a lot of trains and is located kind of alongside a Metro rail yard. Walkability isn't too bad though, all things considered. 79 is 93rd Street South Chicago, the terminal of the Metro Electric South Chicago branch. By far the highest ridership station on the branch. This station alongside the rest of the branch could really use a lot more trains as a whole though. 78 is Michigan City 11th Street on the South Shoreline. Not as high ridership as Carroll Avenue, but the ridership data is from 2019, before the station had a massive overhaul. Michigan City is also building a bunch of transit-oriented development nearby, so I'm sure ridership for the stop has increased since 2019 and will continue to do so in the future. 77 is Calumet on Metra Electric. Not too much in particular to add here other than that the station is just a really high ridership park and ride, and it's quite nice. 78 is Hegewisch on the South Shoreline. The only station to both be in the state of Illinois and exclusively serviced by the South Shoreline. The station is technically owned by Metra, but isn't served by Metra at all. The station sees really good use though. 75 is Cicero on BNSF. A lower ridership stop on the line, but sees most trains stop at the station, so it is really well served. Good transit connections, but the 54 bus comes so close to the station, but not quite all the way. Come on, CTA. 74 is Lake Bluff on Union Pacific North. Another run-of-the-mill station on the line with a really nice station house, and once again, like a lot of other stations on the line, it's quite well integrated into the surrounding area. 73 is D Road on Union Pacific Northwest. The stop serves as a secondary station in Park Ridge and is quite well used. 72 is East Chicago, our last station served exclusively by the South Shoreline. I'm a bit surprised to see this be at the top of the line, but the stats don't lie. Very, very high ridership station. While not great on land use, it truly is a powerhouse of a park and ride. 71 is Berwyn on BNSF. Really ideally located in downtown Berwyn, good walkability, high ridership, lots of trains, what else can you ask for? 70 is Morgan Park 111th Street on the Rock Island's Beverly branch, officially our best station on the branch. The station sees good ridership and is really well located with a high walk score. Also an absolutely beautiful station house. 69 is Tinley Park 80th Avenue on the Rock Island. Another absolute powerhouse of a park and ride, like East Chicago, but even higher ridership. This is actually our highest ridership station of the video thus far, and by quite the large margin. The station is only brought down by being in an absolutely huge parking crater and lacking any transit connections. 68 is Bensonville on Milwaukee West. To be honest, the station doesn't really stand out a lot in any particular category, but just kind of scores a bit above average on all criteria. 67 is Highwood on Union Pacific North. Really, really good walkability to and from the station, a bit lower on ridership than other stops on the line though. 66 is College Avenue on Union Pacific West, being close to Wheaton College. Similarly to Bensonville, it doesn't really stand out in any one category, but is solid across the board. 65 is Edgebrook on Milwaukee North. Right in the middle of Chicago's Forest Glen neighborhood with some local businesses nearby, and is the prime station to use to get to the Edgebrook Woods. 64 is Lake Cook Road on Milwaukee North, being located on Lake Cook Road, which if you couldn't tell is the border between Lake and Cook counties. Another park and ride with not great land use but really solid ridership. 63 is Brookfield on BNSF. Another station with really good walk score right in the middle of downtown Brookfield, and being on BNSF you already know it has super frequent service. 62 is Riverside, also on BNSF. Pretty much the same story as Brookfield, but I think the station house itself is much nicer. 61 is Deerfield on Milwaukee North, a high ridership station on the line. Overall, nothing super special, but is really nice to use. 60 is Elgin on Milwaukee West, right next to the Elgin Transit Center with tons of bus connections and right across the river from downtown Elgin. 59 is Lombard on Union Pacific West, a really high ridership station on Union Pacific West, really well located right in downtown Lombard. 58 is Harlem Avenue on BNSF, a station with good bus connections, decent ridership, and some nice gently dense housing nearby. 57 is Hinsdale on BNSF. Yet another BNSF station that is quite very well placed right in the city's downtown, giving it a good walk score. The station is well used and has a sort of vintage vibe to the station house, which I like. 56 is Blue Island Vermont Street on the Rock Island. The station is the terminal for a lot of the Beverly Branch runs, offers good connections to Metra Electric and local bus service. 55 is Healy on Milwaukee North. Definitely one of the nicest stations located within Chicago city limits, located on the border of Logan Square and Hermosa. The station is pretty nice to access either on foot or by bus. 54 is Morton Grove on Milwaukee North, a high ridership station with an alright walk score, some dense condos nearby, and bus connections. What else needs to be said? 53 is 147th Street Sibley on Metra Electric, our last of the recently renovated MED stations. While not great on walk score, the station scores really well on all other aspects. 52 is Clybourne on Union Pacific North and Union Pacific West, and yes, this is one station, not two. Not the cleanest of stations, but is very, very high ridership and gets a lot of service being on two lines. It is brought down a bit from being inaccessible though. 51 is the station I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for. It's the one and only behemoth Route 59 on BNSF. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Metra's highest ridership station outside of downtown Chicago, and if that's not a policy failure, I don't know what is. Obviously, atrocious land use, but being 100 on ridership and getting tons of train service and being served by the 559 bus brings it up as high as it is. There is a bit of TOD nearby, but not enough to bring it into the top 50. 50 is Northbrook on Milwaukee North. Now that we're in the top 50 and we've left Route 59 behind us, I'd say that any station from here on out can be classified as very good, at least depending on how you look at things. Northbrook doesn't have the greatest land use, but scores well in most other aspects. 49 is Kenilworth on Union Pacific North. Not too much going on nearby, but in a fairly dense area and is pretty easy to walk to on foot. And the station house itself is very nice. 48 is Edison Park on Union Pacific Northwest. Another nice station on the line with good walkability, fairly dense housing, and has a good connection to the 68. 47 is Norwood Park on Union Pacific Northwest. One stop down from Edison Park. Very similar to Edison Park, a bit lower on ridership, but I think the station itself is a bit nicer. 46 is Oak Forest on the Rock Island. Another pretty standard park and ride station with high ridership. 45 is Western Springs on BNSF. A really quite pretty station and is really well located in downtown Western Springs. 44 is Jefferson Park on Union Pacific Northwest. Decent ridership, and with a direct transfer to the Blue Line and the Jefferson Park Transit Center, the station gets brought up quite high. 43 is Clarendon Hills on BNSF. A recently renovated station. Really starting to sound like a broken record here talking about these BNSF stations, but the station is well located with a good walk score. 42 is Irving Park on Union Pacific Northwest. A little surprised myself to see the station beat out Jefferson Park, but we're at the part of the list where the scores are getting really, really tight, so it only really scored 2 points higher than Jefferson Park. But similar story, good connection to the Blue Line and buses. 41 is Lyle on BNSF, and by this point, I think you get the idea with these high-ranking BNSF stations. Good walk score, well located, high ridership. 40 is Evanston Central Street, located on a little commercial corridor in North Evanston. The station sees good ridership, a great walk score, and good transit connections. 39 is Kensington 115th Street on Metra Electric, the furthest south station on the Metra Electric mainline within Chicago city limits. High ridership, tons of service, and good bus connections. 38 is Geneva on Union Pacific West, a really high ridership station on line with a good walk score. 37 is Barrington on Union Pacific Northwest, another powerhouse of a park and ride station. Lots of surface parking, but other than that, the land use isn't too horrible. 36 is Libertyville on Milwaukee North, a very nice, quiet station with good ridership adjacent to downtown Libertyville. 35 is Tinley Park on the Rock Island. While not as high ridership as Tinley Park 80th Street, the station outperformed it in almost every other way. 34 is Glencoe on Union Pacific North. A very beautiful station on the line, and once again, like other stations on the line, very well integrated into both the neighborhood and downtown Glencoe. 33 is 35th Street Lou Jones on the Rock Island, our highest ranked station on the line. Being the first station outside of LaSalle Street and close to destinations like Wright Field and the Illinois Institute of Technology, and with good transfers to CTA trains and buses. 32 is Rogers Park on Union Pacific North. If it wasn't made clear in my previous video, I'm quite the fan of Rogers Park. The station sees great ridership, being a good alternative to the nearby Red Line to get downtown quicker, and is more accessible for residents living further west in the neighborhood. The station has good connections to the 22 Clark and the 96 Lunt buses. It is brought down a bit by not being in the best state of repair at the moment, but with plans underway to modernize the station, that should change in the not too distant future. 31 is Hanover Park on Milwaukee West. Another high ridership park and ride station, not the best walkability, but there is what some could call TOD nearby. 30 is Arlington Park on Union Pacific Northwest. Another super high ridership park and ride station. I was going to comment on the fact that the Chicago Bears have been thinking about moving directly next to the station, but the team has changed their mind about 10 times since I started making this video, so I don't even know anymore. 29 is Westmont on BNSF. Another standard high ridership BNSF station, good walk score and a nice station house. 28 is Crystal Lake on Union Pacific Northwest. For being so far away from Chicago, Crystal Lake has a really cute downtown right next to the Metra station. It is still mainly served as a park and ride, but has a good walk score overall. The best of both worlds. 27 is Park Ridge on Union Pacific Northwest. Very well centrally located in downtown Park Ridge and has connections to both PACE and CTA buses. 26 is Highland Park on Union Pacific North. Highland Park has quite a big downtown compared to other suburbs, so there's lots to walk to nearby, and the walking environment is quite nice. 25 is Glenview on Milwaukee North, the best station on the line. The station is also served by Amtrak, which is a nice touch. Not much of what one could call a downtown nearby, but there is still some good residential development. 24 is Wheaton on Union Pacific West. Similar to a lot of the other stations in the top 50 here, high ridership and very well located in downtown. 23 is Winnetka on Union Pacific North. Great walk score, good ridership, and overall a quite unique looking station. 22 is Glen Ellen on Union Pacific West. Copying and pasting a lot of the same stuff here again, really high ridership, really good walk score, good train service, pace bus connection. Really the only critique I can give it is having a bit of a boring station house, but otherwise, really good station. 21 is Joliet on the Rock Island, and I guess also the Heritage Corridor. I know we already talked about our best Heritage Corridor and Rock Island stations, but this station is served by both. The station gets good service on one of the lines that serve it, and gets frequent Amtrak service as well. Really well located in downtown Joliet and right next to the Pace Bus Transit Center. Starting the top 20 here is Palatine on Union Pacific Northwest. The station has a really nice station house and a super high ridership with a good walk score. 19 is 51st 53rd Street in Hyde Park on Metra Electric. Located in a very dense area on Chicago's south side, not the most modern of stations, but it gets the job done. Also a ton of train service being on the Metra Electric. 18 is Museum Campus 11th Street on Metra Electric and the South Shore Line. A quite bare-bones station, but being quite close into downtown Chicago with high ridership. 17 is LaGrange Road on BNSF, a classic foaming location. Yet another station also serviced by Amtrak, really high ridership and well located. 16 is Arlington Heights on Union Pacific Northwest. Yet another very high ridership station with great walkability. 15 is Des Plaines on Union Pacific Northwest. Not quite as high ridership as Arlington Heights, but it gets placed barely above it by having bus connections. 14 is Oak Park on Union Pacific West. Located right in the heart of downtown Oak Park, the station is great for walking and offers a great connection to the Green Line and buses. 13 is Homewood on Metra Electric. A station again with good ridership and great walkability, and is also served by Amtrak. A little bit of points off for having so much of the walk should be a golf course, but come on, we're in the top 15 now, so you can't complain too much. 12 is Mount Prospect on Union Pacific Northwest, being our best station on the line. Mount Prospect is another station that kind of does everything right. Super high ridership, really great walk score, lots of train service, bus connections, and is quite clean. Props to Mount Prospect. Barely missing the top 10 to the dismay of many is Naperville on BNSF. Also a station that does most right, and my walk score isn't too bad, it just barely misses out on actually being right in downtown Naperville, although it is a short walk away. I know the thing to do is to dump on Naperville. All things considered, the station is really nice, and to any Naperville viewers, you get a gold star for getting 11th place. Alright, so now it's time for the final 10, and like I said at the start of the video, I will be visiting and documenting all of our final 10 stations. To anybody that has sat through the past 241 stations, it really means a lot. So without further ado, let's get into the top 10. And our number 10 best station on the entire Metra and South Shore Line network is Elmhurst on UP West. I had a good feeling, like, starting this video that this was probably going to be the best station on the line, but I wasn't fully expecting it to make the top 10. But being here in person, it is, like, admittedly a very, very nice station. Bus service right here, cute station house, gets really, really good ridership for the line. Very good land use. Yeah, right in the middle of downtown Elmhurst. You have tons of businesses nearby. Some dense housing too. You have apartments over there. Some more, looks like some more recent like apartments over there. So there is like a lot of like TOD that has been constructed around the stop. Non-hostile bench. I like that it has a little indoor waiting area on the outbound side too. It's always like a nice touch to like give. Weird seats, yeah. This whole cafe, like in the station itself, you know, decorated. Overall, like
yellow seat.
Yeah, with the one yellow seat. No, it's pretty. It's nice. I like it. I always love when there's like commercial or when they have like little like restaurants or like cafes like in the station. It's always like a really nice touch. Old like newsstands, but yeah, really, really good station. Elmhurst arrests violators.
Tracks are for trains, not for playing games.
Walking through downtown Elmhurst too, and the really, really good walkability from the station. Living here, maybe not completely car free, but you could definitely live like a very car light life. Number 9 is 55th, 56th, 57th Street Hyde Park on Metra Electric. It's definitely like a very, you know, classic Metra Electric station. Like, it is very, very nice though. Like, it's more built up than a lot of the other stations that I've talked about in the video so far. Like, you know, it's not just like a slab of wood in the middle of the tracks. Like, we have tactile platforms, we have like a more like permanent setup, more permanent like waiting fixture. It's not like the fanciest station of all time. It's not as fancy as those like newly renovated stations further south, like 147th Sibley. But this station gets crazy ridership. It's in a very dense area. It's very close to the University of Chicago, and it has a lot of train service. So the station does have a lot of really great stuff going for it. Oh, okay, we got an e-ink display. I actually haven't seen many of these yet in Chicago. So this is what, the 57th Street exit? Not the cleanest, you know, it's perfectly serviceable. It's not the best, not the worst. But like I said, I mean, where the station really scores isn't necessarily like in the quality of the station, but more so the quality of how well connected it is to its neighborhood. So yeah, the station is a little worn. It's not the cleanest station on Metra or the South Shore Line, but I think that it is definitely deserving of being at the number 9 spot on the list. Our 8th best station on Metra, we're here at Aurora. It's a nice little Burlington route caboose. I find it crazy that we're almost like, what, 30 miles away from Chicago, and we still have like the whole like CTA map. Is it up to date? Yeah, they have Peterson Ridge.
You got Damon.
Wow, okay, yeah, fully up to date. I'm actually shocked.
State Lake is still open.
State Lake, okay, slightly out of date by like a month.
I hate this. I know it's a diagram, but like they made the loop wide. They widened it.
The wide loop.
The Cottage Grove branch is this tiny thing, and then Ashland looks like it goes out a mile. It's so bad.
Let's see inside. Thank you. Oh my god. Whoa, this barber shop? It's actually so much nicer than I thought it was going to be.
It's a really nice station.
It's like, wow, it's like incredibly modern.
History.
History. Oh my god.
A lot of vending machines.
Oh, like greenery, vending machines. They have like the whole like setup here. Like I thought it was gonna be more like basic.
I mean, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure this used to be a proper terminal station for a lot of intercity services.
Right. This is the only venture machine in Kane County. Okay, there is a lot of parking, but in Aurora's defense, downtown is kind of just right there, like across the river. It's a little bit of a walk, but
It's not like right downtown like some other stations, but it's definitely not the worst. It's walkable. You could get there.
yeah, like there's some development like right over there. I mean, you know, lots of parking, but it is the end of the line, so you can give it like a little bit of slack for that. Aurora might not be like the most walkable station on the entire line or on the entire system, but it's another very, very important terminal station, very high ridership, and it definitely is way better on like land use than Route 59, which we talked about earlier. So I think it's definitely deserving of being in the top 10 here. Aurora. Here at our 7th best station, beautiful Wilmette, Illinois. A bit less to this station than I initially thought, but it's still obviously very nice, very clean, pretty good walkability nearby, good ridership. So maybe while it's not as grandly extravagant as Aurora was, you still are scoring a little bit better across the board here. Hostile benches, ticket machines. See if the station house is open. Okay, open station house. Pretty clean in here. It's actually very nice, yeah. Little cafe. I'm not sure if this place is regularly in service or not, but
6 to 9:30, Monday, Friday. It looks like it's
oh, okay.
for commuters.
Right. All right. You know, definitely ample parking here. Not like an obscene amount, obviously. Nothing like Route 59. Nothing that's really like causing an issue as like in terms of integration to the neighborhood, but still there.
Bike parking.
They do have a lot of bike
Is
parking.
that, like under that shelter, I think that's all bike parking.
Oh wait, really? I want to
Yeah.
check that out. Only in Wilmette are they gonna make the cyclists park farther away from the station than the cars. I mean, it seems very well used, and it's a pretty chilly day here. It's like about freezing out, and there's still a ton of bikes here. So, you know, goes to show that Wilmette is like a still fairly dense, walkable, bikeable town. Hi, so I messed up shaving. I had to shave my mustache off, so clean shaven jump scare. But ridership, really good. Walk score, also pretty good. You know, level of service, you're pretty close into Chicago and UP North, so you get a ton of trains. Transit connections, you have pace connections, which is good. And, you know, amenities and vibes, it's solid. Nothing crazy, nothing bad. So, sound like a broken record at this point, or starting to, but another station that isn't in the top 10 out of extravagance, but another station that's in the top 10 out of it just kind of does everything that needs to. It does everything it needs to pretty well. It's pretty, you know, it's well loved, it's well used. You have all the amenities you can ask for. Really good ridership, really good land use. You have a direct connection to the L at Main Street on the Purple Line. Evanston Main Street probably has the least I have to say about it out of any station in the top 10, but it's just pretty solid across the board. Really good ridership, good walk score, great level of service. You have bus connections, you have a connection directly to the Purple Line, which is really nice. And pretty inoffensive overall on vibes. Nothing crazy, again, nothing special, but there's really nothing to complain about here at all. Well, maybe there's a little bit to complain about. The station could use a little bit of love and care, but couldn't all of us? Couldn't you, Stormy?
I could.
Gotta love all of the mixed-use development right by the station, right here in Evanston. You also got the little magazine store over there. Purple Line right here. Metro's a little bit further down, but you know, pretty average. Or what do I want to say here?
It's good.
You know, I don't know what else to say. Pretty good station on UP North. I think it deserves to be in the top 10. Number 5 is Peterson Ridge on Union Pacific North. So Peterson Ridge is the most recently constructed new station on the entire Metra network. And as such, as you can see, it's very, very modern, very, very clean, and pretty well kept thus far. Got some good housing stock over the sunset. So Peterson Ridge was a little bit more difficult to gather data for because it is more recently constructed, and like I said at the start, Metra's most recent official data collection for ridership didn't happen since 2018. But I was still able to find some estimates and some third-party counts of ridership on the station, so I made it as accurate as I could, and it feels right. Understandably, ridership is pretty high, being in a very dense neighborhood again. So walkability is very good, ridership is pretty good, level of service, again, really good. I believe the vast majority, if not all, trains now stop at Peterson Ridge on Union Pacific North. Transit connections, you're served by the 84 Peterson bus, which is pretty frequent. You're a short walk away from the 22. Pretty easy to get to the L with the Peterson bus to, I believe, Thorndale, right?
What?
Thorndale, right?
Bryn Mawr.
Bryn Mawr. And the station obviously got a really high score in the amenities and vibes department just because of how pristine it is. And this is actually my first time at Peterson Ridge. I don't think this is going to be open. No. This is my first time here. I didn't come here when the station opened, so you're seeing my very candid first time reaction to the stop. Now, Stormy knows that I have historically had major beef with this station.
Yes.
Because if I'm in Rogers Park and I'm trying to ride Metra downtown, this adds a stop to me, and I had a sort of unfair beef to Peterson Ridge because of that.
All right, so Sage, after visiting and experiencing Peterson Ridge, do you still have beef with it?
My beef is vastly lessened. You know, it pained me to put this station higher than Rogers Park on the list. An example of me being as unbiased as possible. But I would say that yes, I can relieve a lot of my beef with Peterson Ridge now.
Good news, Peterson Ridge lovers.
So Stormy, since this is number 5, surely the number 4 best station is going to be so much better than this, right?
Well,
number 4 is Van Buren on Metra Electric. A stunning upset for the ranking. We have this beautiful Paris Metro replica entrance on the east side of Michigan Avenue. So this is our 4th best Metro station.
oh my god! Oh, number 4, baby. Number 4.
I'm starting to rethink the integrity of my own list. Yep. Beautiful station we got here. You know, I think for the sake of it, we have to do it because this station is accessible. Against all odds. Oh man.
I'd like to point out the wood.
I don't know if I feel fully safe in this elevator.
The ceiling feels very low. Oh, right in time for the train.
Yeah, but we're on the wrong side of the station. This is not our train. Got some South Shoreline ticket machines. Bunch of gashes and gapes everywhere. Beautiful Van Buren Street. Do not enter, with a helpful little diagram. But they still have the displays, the digital displays all the way down there. So you may be asking yourself, how the hell is this station number 4?
How the hell is this station number 4?
Because I'm wondering the same thing. So I'm not counting the downtown terminal stations in this ranking. So Van Buren is technically an intermediate stop, but it is also in zone 1. So while it is, you know, intermediate and there are following stops on either end, it virtually functions as a downtown terminal, being right in the middle of downtown Chicago. So in terms of ridership, walk score, accessibility, and all other criteria except for amenities, the station score is basically 100, apart from the amenities department where it got, I think, the lowest score on the entire list almost. So I want to point out that the station obviously is in a state of complete disrepair right now, as you saw by the kiddie pool that we stepped into earlier. But it is under construction as part of like the big like Metra Electric like modernization project, as well as some South Shoreline work that they're doing to expand capacity. So, you know, the station scores well in like most categories, but the state of disrepair it's in right now isn't going to be permanent. But yeah, right now it's really not a great station to use.
The next outbound train arriving on track 1 will be number 317, departing at 9:57 to Hyde Park, South Chicago. Shortly after will be number 617, departing at 10:00.
So this is 4th on our list, but if we're giving this a score out of 10, what are we feeling? I mean, you have to keep in mind, like, it's a very important, well-used station, so I'm still gonna give it, I'll give it a 7. I'm gonna give it a 7.
I think the fact that it is such an important and well-used station and it's in this state, even though they're doing construction, this is a very sorry state. And
you have a very good point.
They let it get to the state before they started construction, so I'm gonna say 3.
That's a very fair analysis, I think. And I think that once the station is, you know, fully reconstructed, I think it could even score as like high up as number 2 maybe. Stormy.
Yes.
Did you think that Downers Grove would make the top 10 when I said that I was going to start making this video?
Honestly, I knew it was going to be up there. Like, it's a very nice station.
Number 3 though. Number 3 station on Metra.
Number 3 is pretty high.
I think it's deserving. It's you know, it kind of does almost everything a station can do right. You know, you're right in the middle of a walkable downtown. You have a lot of both new and old apartments nearby. It's a very high ridership on a very frequent line. There's not too much parking nearby.
You have a nice station building.
Exactly. It's, you know, like, it does, you know, it might not be like the most glamorous station on all of Metro or the most recently built or recently renovated, but it really just does everything right. I find it funny that these ticket machines are just kind of like out in the open, like under a random roof, like outside the stop. But hey, they have the new ticket machines. But yeah, Downers Grove, very walkable downtown, lots of like shops, restaurants that way. You have a connection to the 834 right through here. Not the greatest bus in the world, only comes about once an hour, sometimes with even bigger gaps than that, and it stops pretty early, but a bus is a bus. And also tons and tons of bikes parked here. So you know people are biking here, people are walking here. It's not purely like a park and ride station like others like Route 59. Downers Grove though, 9 out of 10. I approve.
Maybe 7.
Stormy, this is the last time I'm going to see you in this video because I'm soon about to be transported to Evanston Davis Street.
Get well soon.
And our second best station on all of Metra is Evanston Davis Street. Wait, what are you still doing here, Stormy?
You can't get rid of me.
So Evanston Davis Street is again a station that kind of just does everything right, like Downers Grove. It's not the cleanest station, again. It's not like particularly very dirty. You have all of the amenities you could ask for.
Another coffee house.
You know, lighting could be a little bit brighter. Another coffee house here. It's cozy. It's cozy in here. I like it. But yeah, like Downers Grove, it's another station that just kind of does everything a station needs to do and does it quite well. You have very, very high ridership. You have a direct transfer to the Purple Line and a lot of CTA and Pace buses. You have a tons of trains coming in and out. And then amenities and vibes, it's all right. So yeah, I think that it deserves to be the second best station.
I think so too. It could probably just use some TLC and a refresh.
What's TLC?
Tender loving care.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da, 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 preparing
Ravenswood.
And number 1 is Ravenswood on Union Pacific North. This is exactly what I thought was going to be number 1 when I started working on this video. There really wasn't another clear option in my head. It's very orange in here.
I don't know why they chose orange, but
Well, orange is my favorite color, so I'll take it.
that's why it's number 1.
So why is Ravenswood number 1? Well, it scored close to 100, if not 100, on basically every single category. Ridership, it is among the very top of non-downtown terminal stations. Walk score, it's also among the top, being in a very, very densely populated neighborhood on the north side of Chicago. Very dense housing, lots of apartments and mixed-use development nearby, lots of shops. Pretty unmatched in terms of walk score on the system. Level of service, you're served by basically every departing train on the line. Amenities and vibes, the station was recently reconstructed a few years ago, so it is very clean, very modern now. It's not like the most extravagant station on Metra, but it's still very nice. And then in terms of transit connections, you have the 81, the 9, which are both very frequent, very high ridership CTA buses, and you're a very short walk away from the Brown Line. So we're on the outbound platform right here because the Union Pacific lines run on the left. That's the inbound over there. You have indoor waiting area. It's a much bigger platform, which makes sense because that's where you're going to have the bulk of people waiting. But a lot of people do use it outbound as well. I feel like a lot of people will commute between here and Evanston and other North Shore suburbs. I would have loved to give it a more in-depth review on the inbound platform. We are a little short on time here because we have to catch a train to Peterson Ridge for this video. But yeah, Ravenswood, like I said before, I had a very strong feeling when I started gathering data that this would be number 1, and did not surprise me at all when it did appear to be number 1. What's the stormy review of Ravenswood Union Pacific North Station? So now with every single Metra and South Shoreline station ranked, let me hand it over to Studio Sage to do the debrief. All right, so before getting into the actual debrief outro part of the video, I want to touch on the downtown terminal stations really quick. all of them ranked above Ravenswood, except for LaSalle Street, which actually ranked beneath Evanston Davis Street, just above Downers Grove. So Evanston Davis Street and Ravenswood actually scored better than one of the downtown terminal stations, which I found really interesting. But in order from worst to best, they go LaSalle Street, Millennium Station, and big shocker, Union Station scored 2 points below Ogilvie Transit Center. Now, if I hadn't capped the ridership score, Union Station definitely would have topped OTC, but with, ranking the downtown terminal stations in the same way I ranked all the others, which, isn't really the best way to go about it since they're kind of a beast of their own, OTC actually does score number 1 on the entire system, downtown terminal stations included. And that is everything then. I started making this video immediately after uploading my previous video ranking every CTA station over a month ago. And, I thought like, oh yeah, it's going to take like a couple weeks to get out. Like, it won't be that much harder. Like, no, this took so much work. Just gathering all of the data by itself took like almost 3 weeks straight. And it was probably like the most painstaking part of the process because, going through tracking all the ridership data, compiling it into a spreadsheet, typing every single station into walk score, finding out the level of service at each station, which, thanks to one of my friends for helping me, we actually had to write a script to kind of scrub all of the Metra schedules. And we were pretty stubborn about not using AI for it. So, this is a fully AI-free video, 100% human-made. Going into every station, looking at, does it have a bus connection? Checking every station for accessibility, and then also going through every station and kind of giving a more subjective view on amenities, how pretty's the station house, blah, blah, blah. So, like I said at the start, I haven't been to every Metro station, but the amenity score, I did the best I could with information I can find online, images, even like looking at reviews at times and like talking to other people that I've known that have used the station. And then weekend service was another annoying one, kind of having to like go through every Metro schedule and like check and see on BNSF especially, like stations that get skipped on weekends, because there are quite a few of those across the system apart from the Heritage Corridor and the North Central service and Southwest service, which don't run at all on weekends. But to anyone who is still here through all of that, genuinely thank you so much. This was a grueling process to make. I'd really love to hear from people like in the comments too about, like their personal rankings, because obviously it's hard to do all of this purely objectively because, again, like I said at the start, a station's usefulness is very subjective. It depends on where do you live, where are you going, not as much like, oh, is the station pretty? Or maybe you don't need a bus, or maybe you just drive and you work a 9 to 5, so a station like, I don't know, Tinley Park 80th Street like works fine for you, which is like, that's perfectly fine. This isn't meant to like dunk on stations, but was kind of like a fun project I want to do, and it seems like a lot of people wanted me to do this as well. And thanks to Stormy Kara for helping with this video, not only just for, coming with me to all of the top 10 stations, and Mannheim, the worst station. I don't know how I convinced them to come with me to Mannheim, but I did. But also for helping me a little bit with the data collection, because I had made some mistakes on the spreadsheet, which they caught and corrected before I did. So I think that this list is much more accurate now because of them. So thank you, Stormy. And now, before anyone asks me to rank every Amtrak station, we'll see.
Oh my god!